Welcome to Portals of Perception. You're about to enter one of the most non-linear conversational experiences you've ever entered. In this conversation, we are seeking to discover that intangible property and nature of human life, that is the naturally arising capacity to weave part to part and unlock new possibilities. And you will find, as you stay with us through this conversation, that we go to all sorts of places. The past, the distant past, and the future, the interior human realm, the brain and the mind, and the exterior, the world at large. How we do this with adults in the therapeutic and counseling world, and how we do this in the classroom with 10-year-olds. And through this, how can we be present and listen to each other and surrender the need to control the conversation or to be attached to a specific outcome, but rather surf the wave of the conversation where it goes, and as we do so, weave the invisible threads and themes that appear in the conversation. Discover for yourself. Here we go. When I look at my granddaughter, who is 20 months young now, she likes to put things together all day long. And I can sense through her demonstration how uniquely human is this process, this capacity of putting things together, weaving part to part. So let us begin with asking you to introduce yourself one at a time and to bring forward what comes alive for you simply when you hear this phrase, the human as a weaver of part to part and a connector of possibilities.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Theodora, or Theodora in Greek. I'm from Greece and I've been teaching for many years ancient Greek and European history. I also speak various languages like Dutch, French, English, of course, so on. And that's the first thing that comes to me when we talk about the human weaving. It's language, this incredible gift, this amazing exploration of things that somehow the more you study about it, the more mysterious it becomes. So there is the hieroglyphs, there is the, is language paintings? Is painting a language, or is language just black dots on a piece of paper, or these days black dots on a piece of a screen that we have in front of us? But what I was thinking about the other day was this Greek word logos. Logos is one of the core words that can be used. It can mean speech, it can mean reasoning or reason. It can also mean the word. So in the Genesis book, in the beginning of the Genesis book, it says in the beginning, that is before the world existed, there is the word. They translate it, but it says there was the logos of God. So the logos of God is either the reason of God or the logic of God. Now I'm just bringing it in as part of the mystery, because the human is apparently the one being on this planet that we recognize that can reason on things, that can try to understand and ask why and how come and where is it coming from and what does it with and how does it bring me to my next discovery or understanding or recognition. So that's a fascinating study in itself, and the more it opens, the more we discover the uniqueness of the human being through the language.
I would love to come in following Theodora on that. My name is Elizabeth Lyell, and I live in Seattle, north of Seattle, Washington, in America. And right now I'm a counselor, therapeutic counselor, but I years ago taught philosophy for a number of years, and so I'm picking up on Theodora's logos. And I just was remembering the other day something that I stumbled on when I first started teaching college classes. And it was to do with the fact that the first week of, an introduction to philosophy course, invariably at least half, if not more, of the students would come in saying, "Where did you get this book? Could we please have another text? Because this is unreadable. Is this in English?" Because the texts were so dense and complicated and, just not like good nighttime reading. Well, they would put people to sleep, but so I intuitively realized we've got to have a new sense of this. And so one day I came in and I said, "Look, I want to suggest that you approach these very difficult texts in a different way than you've probably been trained, not linearly." So I told them what I did, and I said, I suggest this, you can try this. And it was, you start reading and you don't worry about what you don't understand, and you just wait till you get to a passage or even a sentence that you understand, and you circle it. And then you go through the next bit, and if it's forgive me, Greek to you, you just wait till you find another one and you circle that, and just find anything that makes sense to you, and these will become islands of understanding for you. So, and then eventually, as we talk about it in class, and as we reread stuff, and as you prepare to write something, those islands of understanding will start to come together, and you'll begin to have what I call the mainland of meaning. And they were intrigued, generally speaking. It was sort of a relief that they weren't expected to understand in the usual way, but if they could gather parts and wait for those parts to begin to connect with each other, and also their parts with the writer's parts, because the writer had presented a certain argument. It wasn't coming from the life of the student. So if the student could find something that they could go in on their own part, they could begin to form not only a sympathetic connection, but a symphony of possible understanding. And I realized that over the years later, I would realize that was actually an instinctive move on my part to help someone make entry, help someone own the territory in a certain sense, not possess, but have a personal entry, their part in it, and then they could begin to appreciate, perhaps, not always, the parts of the writer. So that was something that occurred to me the other day, and I had one other example, and it's on a different level, and that's when I worked with a program called Philosophy for Children. And it wasn't studying the philosophers per se, it was working with reasoning skills, critical, creative reasoning skills. So one day in a 5th grade class, so 10 years old, we're talking about what's the difference between the brain and the mind. And it had come up as a question and so forth. So we were pursuing it, and some were saying it's the same thing. And so of course I said, well, there are 2 different words, And then we started wondering what could be the difference. And we went at it, and there were sides forming up and arguments going on. And then we sort of went deeper, and everybody sort of went quiet. And then I'll never forget, this little boy puts his hand up and he says, "I know." And we all go, "Oh, good." What? And he says, "It's like a fish tank." And I said, "Oh, okay. Could you say more?" Yes, he said the tank is the brain, the water is the mind, and the fish are the thoughts. And everybody was so excited. And, and then after that, everybody came up with their own analogies. So it was, again, a sense of working with meaning. And I was so proud of them. And they all drew the pictures and we put them up on the wall and stuff. But I thought that was another, example of a younger group of people doing the exact same thing. And an analogy is a weaving.
Well, I'm detecting a theme. Whether it was intentional or not, we don't know. So